Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are reading today Canto 8, chapter 20, verse 15. Tridam Pandita Manyagya.
Etam Padita Mani Achna.
Dridam Pandita Manyanya.
Etam Padita Mani Achna.
Stabdosyasmat upekshaya.
Staptosyasmat upekshaya.
Stabdosyasmat upekshaya.
Staptosyasmat upekshaya.
Machcha sannatigo yastvam.
Akshasatatigo yastvam.
Machcha sannatigo yastvam.
Akshasatatigo yastvam.
Achirat prashyase shriya.
Achirat prasyase shriya.
Achirat prashyase shriya.
Achirat prasyase shriya.
Dridam pandita manyanya.
Etam pandita maniyajna.
Stabdosyasmat upekshaya.
Staptosyasmat upekshaya.
Machcha sannatigo yastvam.
Akshasatatigo yastvam.
Achirat prashyase shriya.
Achirat prasyase shriya.
Bitteschön.
Etam pandita maniyajna.
Tritam pandita manyanya.
Staptosyasmat upekshaya.
Stabdosyasmat upekshaya.
Akshasatatigo yastvam.
Machcha sannatigo yastvam. Achirat prashyase shriya. So. Tritam pandita manyanya. Stapdosyasmat upekshaya. Machcha sannatigo yastvam. Achirat prashyase shriya. Dridam. So firmly convinced or fixed in your decision. Pandita mani. Considering yourself very learned. Arya. At the same time foolish. Stabdaha. Impudent. Was sagt Stabdaha auf Deutsch, Markus?
Ich muss gerade gucken. Unverschämt.
Ah ja, okay. Unverschämt. Impudent. Asi.
Asi.
You have become.
You have become.
Asmat.
Asmat.
Of us.
Us.
Upekshaya.
Upekshaya.
By disregarding.
By disregard.
Machashana atigaha.
Asasana.
Surpassing the jurisdiction of my administration. The jurisdiction, also Jurisdiction heißt jurisdiction is by law. So if you have jurisdiction in an area, it means that you can say what is law in that area. So Shukracharya is speaking here, and he says, I'm your spiritual master, and my jurisdiction is to tell you what to do, and you're not listening.
Den Zuständigkeitsbereich meiner Verwaltung übertreten.
Ja, ja. Yaha,
Ja,
such a person as you,
such a person is
Tvam,
man,
yourself,
Mr.
Achirat,
Achira,
very soon,
Ex,
Prashyase,
Rajase,
will fall down,
Infolge,
Shriyaha,
Shriya,
from all opulence.
and all opulence.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although you have no knowledge, you have become a so-called learned person, and therefore you dare be so impudent as to disobey my order. Because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Bali Maharaj was not Pandita Mani, or one who falsely assumes himself learned. Rather, he was Pandita Manyadya, one who is so learned that all other learned persons worship him. And because he was so learned, he could disobey the order of his so-called spiritual master. He had no fear of any condition of material existence. Anyone cared for by Lord Vishnu does not need to care about anyone else. Thus, Bali Maharaj could never be bereft of all opulence. The opulences offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are not to be compared to the opulences obtained by Karma Kanda. In other words, if a devotee becomes very opulent, it is to be understood that his opulence is a gift of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such opulence will never be vanquished, whereas the opulence achieved by one's fruitive activity may be vanquished at any moment. Okay, pause. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavbhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, one more time the verse. Although you have no knowledge, you have become a so-called learned person, and therefore you dare be so impudent as to disobey my order. Because of disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. So we see here that Shukracharya, so verse 13. Verse 13 is still Bali Maharaj speaking, and then 12, 13 is still Bali Maharaj speaking, and then Shukracharya Then Shukadev Goswami says that thereafter the spiritual master Shukracharya, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, cursed his exalted disciple Bali Maharaj, who was so magnanimous and fixed in truthfulness that instead of respecting his spiritual master's instructions, he wanted to disobey his order. And then Shukracharya is now speaking. So we have to step back a little bit to see why Shukracharya is being, also also er rastet gerade aus, auf Deutsch gesagt, because his disciple is not listening to him. And I have to say that a lot of what I'm going to say now comes from Katamakanana Swami, because he gave this he gave a lecture on this class and the previous verse in Cape Town many years ago. So we have to understand that the demons and the demigods, the asuras and the devatas, are actually brothers or cousins at least, because they come from the same father. So yes, they're actually half brothers, but they have different mothers. So the Diti and Aditi are the mothers, and because of the way that these two groups were conceived, the one group is the demigods, and the other group is the asuras. And the demigods already had Brihaspati, he was their guru, and Shukracharya, and this is kind of, I'm not glorifying Shukracharya, but I'm just going to tell you that he's not all bad. There's a lot to learn from him. So Shukracharya decided to become the demons, the guru of the demons, because the demons were a bit wild. They were very unstructured and they were very passionate, and if you don't contain a fire, then it's going to burn everything. So the demons needed a little bit help and a little bit direction. So he became their guru, because a guru teaches. A guru is nothing but a teacher, and a teacher teaches those who need teaching most. So you'll see that a lot of the time our spiritual masters also give a lot of mercy to those people who need it most, because that's their job. It's not that you love your disciples less if they are perfect disciples. It's just that you don't have to worry about them so much, and you don't have to invest so much energy in them, because you know that they're going to do the right thing. But the wild ones, you have to kind of just keep your eye on and teach them. So Shukracharya, interestingly enough, also, he was extremely learned. He was a very, very developed person, so much so that in Sanskrit he got one of the days named after him. Do you know which day is connected to Shukracharya? Just as a general fact.
I only know that basically Thursday is the day of the spiritual master.
Yeah, Thursday in Sanskrit is called Guruvara, and that is connected to which planet? Yeah, genau. And also, actually, if you look at the Latin, Thursday comes from Thor, and Thor it's the Norse god, but it's connected to Zeus, who in Roman mythology is Jupiter. So there's a connection. So Shukracharya's day will actually be tomorrow, Friday. It's called Shukravara, and it's also connected to Venus. So it's said that the planets, these personalities, so Sunday is Ravivara, that's the sun. Monday is Somavara, that's the moon. Tuesday is Mangala. No, Mangala is Mars. Wednesday is Budavara, that's Mercury. Thursday is Guruvara, Jupiter. Friday and Saturday is Saturn. So we can see some, even in the English, a little bit Saturday is Saturn, and so forth and so forth. But Venus, if you look, it's not a bad, just because it's connected to the guru of the to the guru of the demons. It's not a bad day, because Venus is a planet of luxury. It's a planet of wealth. It's a planet of democracy or diplomacy and things. So those are good qualities to have. I mean, if you have a good Venus, it means that you have a lot of money, you have a lot of luxury. So it's not necessarily bad. Anyway, so just to say that Shukracharya was a very learned person, and he was very respected. So to have a disciple, the king of all people, not follow your orders is kind of shocking. So that's the one part. That's why Shukracharya now is cursing him. So he's also inspired by the Supreme Lord to be cursed, so that this whole Vamana Dev story can unfold. The other point that Srila Prabhupada is making is the the difference between the two types of learned people. You can have people who are extremely learned academically, like theoretically, but they don't know much else. It's like when I was a student, I studied languages, and um, no offense to the men that studied with me, but a lot of them had a lot of knowledge about languages, but they were absolutely useless when it came to practical things. That's why I'm so glad I married a practical man, because now he can take better. So you have different kinds of knowledge, but Prabhupada says the Pandita Manya Gya is so learned that all other learned people worship him. So, what's the essence? When are you considered to be really learned, not just theoretically? Wann sind man richtig gelehrt und nicht nur irgendwie theoretisch oder akademisch? Hm?
Ja, mir fällt immer auf, wenn Schiller Prabhupada, also wenn die, unsere Lehrer etwas so klar und einfach ausdrücken können, dass man es das, was in den Schriften drin steht. Sie können es einfach so klar rüberbringen.
Yeah, yeah. Eloquence is. No, wait. What does Indradi Maharaj always say? Eloquence is truth spoken concisely. Also wenn du kurz und kräftig, genau Punkt das sagen kann, was gebraucht wird, dann ist es Eloquence. Markus?
Du selber vorleben, was du lernst.
Genau, also unter anderem, if you walk your talk, basically, if you do that which you also preach, so if you practice your preaching. But I mean, there are people, you can have gurus that teach you about physical fitness who also walk their talk. But physical fitness knowledge isn't necessarily true knowledge. The true knowledge is to know two things. Number one, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Number two, we are his eternal servants. If you have realized those two truths, then you are considered learned. That is why you could have someone like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur taking shelter of wie heißt der Guru von Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? Ja, Gaur das Babaji. I always remember the Babaji part, but not the Gaur Das Babaji was illiterate. He couldn't even read. So now you have this extremely learned person, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and you have a person who who is illiterate, who cannot read. But the outwardly learned person is taking shelter of the person who is illiterate. Why? Because the real learnedness, the real reason for being learned was Bhakti. Gorky showed that Das Babaji couldn't read, but he definitely knew that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that we are his servants. That's it. So it's actually, if we think about it, very hopeful. That's why being a devotee doesn't always necessarily mean that you have to have exterior knowledge. Being a devotee means that you realize spiritual knowledge. And anybody can do that, no matter where they are and where they come from and where they were born and what color they are and who their parents are. I mean, even my Indradyumna Maharaj once told, His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj once told a story. It's not one of his disciples, but I can't remember who the guru was. But basically, this person, there was a young girl who became a very good devotee, very sincere, very sweet, but she came from one of these island tribes, and those tribes were cannibals not long ago. So she comes from a cannibalistic family, and she tells the most gruesome stories about what part what parts are the best to eat. It's gross, but I mean, so you think, cannibal? No, that's not possible to become a devotee, but it is, because everybody's a devotee. They're just covered in different ways. So and later on she took initiation and everything was good, and obviously not a cannibal anymore, but I don't think she was ever a cannibal, but I think her grandmother was still. So it's interesting. But basically the point is that anybody who receives the mercy of a pure devotee can become a devotee. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, it's Krishna's, or Lord Chaitanya says that you cannot become a devotee if you do not receive the mercy of a pure devotee. So that is the thing that you need. And that is why we preach, because we know that the mercy, we are channels of mercy. We are the ones that have to give people the mercy in order for them to start their spiritual life. And then, so if we look at Shukracharya just from the outside, he was focused on fairness. He said, you have to give both the groups, the demigods and the demons, you have to they have to both have teachers. You can't just leave the one unsheltered. So he was very focused on self-control and how to use your intelligence wisely, and he was focused on fairness. But his fall down, and that's where it becomes important to us, his fall down was that he was focused on material things. So it doesn't matter that you are the most diplomatic, fair, controlled person. If you don't use those qualities in Krishna's service, then you use them for material things. And then in the end, you're going to lose everything that you build up. You lose. You have to give it away at the time of death. But if you use them in Krishna's service, then it gets eternal quality to it, and then you can take the good things that you get out of it, you take with you. So that's the only mistake Shukracharya made. He wasn't like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana. He was just very, very material, but he just used he just used his, and that's basically the lesson to us, is that all of us have talents, and all of us have these specific qualities that we received from Krishna, and it is up to us to decide how to use them. Just like Arjuna says, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you will always be a soldier. You are Kshatriya, whether you are Kshatriya for me or Kshatriya for something else, but soldier you will remain. And you will fight. If you don't fight for me, you will fight for something else. But that's the quality that you have. So basically, we have to. Some people get enormous amounts of creativity, and that creativity in the sense that they can do stuff. And but the point is, are you going to make materialistic stories out of it, or are you going to use it for devotional stories? Or if you're an artist, are you going to paint devotional paintings, or are you going to paint material paintings? Or any kind of talent that we have, how are you going to use it? And that's why, in one way, this story of Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya are a little bit dangerous, because the first principle of devotional service is that you have to take a spiritual master. You must have a spiritual master. You have to take shelter. And because it is a relationship between two people, you can't just take it from anyone. You have to pray for the mercy to find the person that you can take shelter of, that you can submit to. Because spiritual master means that if he says something, you do it. But it's not the point that you do it blindly. It's that before you got to know the spiritual master and you realize that, okay, this person I can trust. So trust shouldn't be blindly. You shouldn't just trust anyone. Trust should be earned. And that's why when we take shelter from a spiritual master, there's always this time before, when you take shelter and he says, yes, okay, you can chant my prana mantra, between that and the actual initiation, because both parties have to realize whether, okay, the disciple has to be very convinced, okay, this person I can trust, so this person I can submit to, I can surrender to, and the guru has to decide, okay, this one, he listens, I can give him instruction, and I can, it will work, the relationship will work. So that's why we can't all be Bali Maharaj. We are not Bali Maharaj. So if we take shelter from a spiritual master, aha, okay, Haribol. And so the point is that we have to be connected to Krishna, and the connection is through the spiritual master. And hopefully our spiritual master always stays on the path. But the point is that Bali Maharaj could reject his spiritual master because he had all the knowledge, and because he was very, very learned in the right way. And he could see that his spiritual master wasn't. So we should not think that after taking initiation, we can still decide whether to listen or not to listen. If you take initiation, it means that you decided to listen. Obviously, you can discuss it. It's still a conversation. It's still a relationship of a reciprocal relationship. So it goes both ways. It's not a dictatorship. The relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple is not a dictatorship, but still there is a very clear thing of I'm the disciple, I surrender, you are my master, you know more, and therefore you can teach me. And in this case, it wasn't. But we can learn from Shukracharya in the sense that we can see how dangerous it is to be attached to material things, and to because that was the war actually between material things, material attachments or spiritual attachment. And Shukracharya was unfortunately too attached to his material things. So, and in the end, we'll see that even though Bali Maharaj, the universe is taken away, he still gets blessings. So, we'll read about that later. He does not basically lose anything, he just gets it in a different form. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Then you must consider, I'm interested in, only if you know, what is the background of the Sukracharya? Came he from a devotee family, or do you know what is
I don't actually know, so that is a good question. We can ask. Okay. Okay, his father was Brigu. So Brigu was one of the Brigu Rishi. He was one of the um, great sages, Brigu Muni, and his mother was Kavya Mata. Um, yeah, so that's why he was considered to be one of the Brahmanas, because his father was a sage, and he and Brihaspati both received training from Angirasa, so they had the same teacher, and the point was that he kind of was a little bit jealous of Brihaspati, because Brihaspati was kind of the star. I mean, they say that I'm reading that Shukracharya was very talented, like he had a lot of talent, but still he felt a little bit um, neglected in favor. So Brihaspati was still favored, and Shukracharya then decided, no, okay, if that's the case, I'll become the demon of the gurus, the guru of the demons,
Brihaspati was the guru of the
demigods.
demigod?
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. So his father, Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Yeah, so Shukracharya himself has a powerful lineage. And it's interesting that you can always, it's Brihaspati and Shukracharya, they have the same teacher. Duryodhana and Arjuna and the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they had the same teacher. So it's sometimes you have good students and you have bad students, meaning not bad in the sense that they are bad at learning, but they make different choices. And yeah, if you have a devotional attitude, then you get the mercy of people. Arjuna was especially devoted to Dronacharya, and that's why he got all the blessings. And the Pandavas were absolutely devoted to Krishna. That's why they got extra blessings. It's not that the Kauravas were neglected. They got exactly what they needed and whatever. But if someone treats you well, or someone does you a favor, then it naturally invokes mercy, or a feeling of, I like this person, and you go through extra effort for a person like that. So that was what Shukracharya's story is. And then, so in the end, he curses Bali Maharaj, and he says, all your opulence is going to be taken away. Yeah, so now the next verses will then go back to Bali Maharaj. We'll focus more on his reaction to this curse. So that's another thing, that distinguishes a devotee from a non-devotee is how we react to difficult situations, how we react to curses. Because, but um, Prahlad Maharaj wasn't cursed, but he was sort of cursed, not cursed, but he had a terrible father that treated him really abysmally. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed. Krishna was cursed by Kandari. Bali Maharaj was cursed by Brihaspati. Indra was also a lot of the times cursed when he did something bad. But you'll see that the devotees, they don't then go into victim mode and say, oh, I don't deserve this is terrible, they say, okay, Shanti, whatever. They whatever comes, they are always, this is the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even if it's packaged in the form of a curse. And that's difficult. That's what we need to learn. That's what we have trouble with, is seeing the mercy of the Lord even in difficult circumstances. Because it's easy to see it in good circumstances, but it's not so easy to see it when it's not going according to plan. So, no.
I listened yesterday to a very wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam class with Suni Swati from Maharaj, because he said we learn from the Sukracharya how dangerous it is to be attached to material things.
Mm-hmm.
And Maharaj said our attitude should be detached, but wanting to have a result for Krishna. This was for me very. We should be detached, but we are detached, basically detached, but we should want the result. Result is for Krishna.
Yeah, it's I can't remember who said it, either Kanana Swami or Indradimna Swami or one of them said, you should work when you do something like any of your service. You should work as if the result is dependent on you, but you should pray as if the result is completely out of your hands. And that's kind of, so you can't do half, because usually, and that we see in immature devotees, like in the beginning, or some devotees say, ah, Krishna will take care, and then they don't do the effort that they would if it was, sometimes you get half-hearted service because they think, oh, okay, I do a little bit, but then Krishna will take it. No, you still have to do good work, because you want to have a good result for Krishna. But you also understand that how it's going to turn out is not in your hands, but that you have to work towards having a good result, what, like the best you can give, whatever that is. That that sort of, I mean, and obviously we also know that Krishna also gives us the ability. So it's just basically Krishna gave us a toolbox at the beginning of life, and those tools have to be used, taken care of. Number one, you have to take care of your toolbox and your tools, and you have to use them properly. And but how the result is going to turn out is not in our, we don't know. But that's a good, being detached, but still wanting a good, yeah, wanting to have a good result for Krishna. That's a good way of seeing it. No. Okay. Grantara Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Indra Maharaj ki jai.